Welcome to the Reducing Insurance Journal. This is the data edition. This podcast is, or actually this journal is a weekly e-journal brought directly to your inbox. This is something new that Naren and I have thought up of in an effort to provide, weekly content on much needed information regarding various things, practice management and dentistry, to our dental friends throughout the industry. To subscribe, visit RID Journal or ridjournal.com. In today's issue, we are going to explore the topic of what is your PPO write-off. You can also listen to us on a podcast, basically any podcast streaming, especially on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, or whatever favorite podcast tool you subscribe to. If you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel on RID Journal. That's RID Journal. My name is Ben Tuyene, and I'm the host for today's edition, and let's dive right into it. So today we have my guest, Naren Arul Raja, with us today. Naren, good to chat with you today.
Absolutely, Ben. And like you mentioned in your earlier comments, both of us started the Reducing Insurance Journal, ridjournal.com, and we are both excited that we are doing it. You're an amazing guy, and I'm looking forward to our relationship and these conversations. And also, you know a ton about reducing insurance and, working with insurance company as you go through that process. So this is going to be fun. Hopefully you will learn a lot. It'll be weekly and, we'll come to you every single week. And hopefully you learn something. If you like what you hear, share it with your friends. And of course, write reviews on iTunes, etc. Let's jump in.
Absolutely. That's perfect. Thank you, Naren. Well, let's get right into the questions here, surrounding this topic of insurance. Let's start with the first question, Naren. So what is a PPO write-off?
That's a great question. PPO write-off is the difference between your UCR fees and what you actually get paid from the insurance company. So let's say your UCR fee, let's say usual, customary, and reasonable fee. So someone with your qualifications, your experience in your area, how much would you charge if you had no restrictions? And that fee, let's say for crowns, is $1,000. Now, the insurance company might only allow you to charge $800, and of that $800, let's say they're only paying you $500. So your PPO write-off is $1,000, what you could have charged, given your experience, knowledge, and you given your area, minus what they actually paid you for that service. So your write-off is $500. So that's how you calculate your PPO write-off.
Gotcha. So basically money that you're just leaving on the table or not collecting. It's interesting when you look at the impact that this could have on dental practices, Naren. What do you think the average PPO write-off in a percentage format and a dollar format is for an average doctor on an annual basis?
That's a great question. So the percentage, of course, this number keeps going up. The write-offs keep going up because insurance companies still are paying a maximum of $1,000 to $1,500, the same amount they paid 40 years ago. So they haven't increased how much they're paying dentists in almost 40 years, while cost of living keeps going up, right? I mean, everything is a lot more expensive today than they were in the 1970s. So today we see, and I would like your opinion also, Ben, we see around 42 to 58% write-off. So let's say in that example that I gave you earlier, like if you're collecting $1,000, the dentist ends up keeping $580. That's if you're writing off 42%. And if you're writing off 58%, you will only end up keeping $420. When you annualize it, typically for $1 million collections practice, we see that number north of $500,000 if, like most dentists, you have 70-80% PPO dependence. Again, I'm just giving you averages. It depends on the city, it depends on your provider, etc. But it can be a huge amount of money, like $500,000 a year for $1 million practice in collections. When you multiply it by 10 years, that's $5 million. When you multiply it by 20, that could be $10 million you're giving the executives at the insurance company.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I run into a lot of situations where doctors, they tend not to file certain procedures, right? Or they tend to not put in their office fees where they're calculating everything using their standard the PPO fees, mainly because they don't want to see those write-offs, because in their experience in years past, the write-off was such a pain point to them. But I think it's something that's very important to know, right? In an effort to help figure out ways on how to improve the business functions a little bit, or at least the financial functions. So if I'm a dentist and I don't know how to find these write-offs, where can I go in my practice management system to find out what my write-offs are?
That's a great question. Actually, we made it easy. We want you to spend no more than 2 to 3 minutes, and we will send you what your write-off is within 1 to 2%. And we'll put a link in our show notes. So to find the show notes, you have to go to ridjournal.com. Of course, find this episode, and then there you will see the show notes. Pretty much the 3 pieces of information we're asking for is what's your collections in the last fiscal year? So let's say if you are doing this in early 2023, what's your collections in 2022? Second question we ask is what's your average write-off? Now, to find the average write-off, look at the typical services you offer, pick 2, and do the math the way I described it. So let's say you should be charging $1,000 for that service, but when everything is said and done, you get paid $500. So your write-off will be 50%. So do that for a couple of services that's very popular, just to get an average write-off percentage. And last but not least, this is something you may have to guess. Guess what percentage of your patients are PPO patients versus, not on any PPO plans. So if that number is 70%, then that's the third piece of information you enter. Like I said, take you 2 minutes. We'll send you your annual write-off confidentially, your monthly write-off and your annual write-off. So you can figure out if you do nothing and you stick with the same trajectory in terms of the same set of insurance plans, etc., how much money you will lose this year or in this fiscal year, plus every year thereafter. Of course, if you can change that, then of course you won't be losing as much money.
Naren, it's interesting when you measure or take a look at the 45 to 50% PPO write-off versus what your clients spend on marketing. They spend 1% with Equa on marketing, and they get the potential of, vast number of people calling their practices, which arguably, in my opinion, is way better than giving those massive PPO write-offs, right? So basically what we're looking at here in terms of write-off versus, marketing strategies is in-network write-offs 40 to 50% better than, a potential of a 1% marketing strategy through Equa. It's a stupid question there, but in my opinion, in my voice. But what are your thoughts on this, Naren, in terms of what resources or how doctors should focus on the write-off from the perspective of marketing and where to better spend those resources?
That's a great question. You are 100% right. PPO write-offs are a marketing expense because what does the insurance company do? They give you new patients. In exchange for the life of that patient, you are giving up 45 to 50%, even 58% every single time that patient walks into your office. So it's almost like you're cringing when they walk in because more than half of what you make goes to the insurance company. So having said that, so 1%, definitely anyone who knows basic math knows is so much better than 45 to 50%. So yes, you are correct. Our clients end up spending around 1% of what they collect, and some even less, depending on how big their practice is, to get more than enough new patients from Google. So one of the things I would recommend is, if you want to make this new year amazing, then create options for yourself. So at least book a marketing strategy meeting with one of our team members. Probably you'll talk to Laila. And what Laila would do is she would spend 6 hours prior to the meeting to research how well you are doing on Google. First question she will ask is, how many keywords are you ranking for? 1, 2, or hundreds? Of course, if you're ranking for hundreds of keywords in the top 5 or 10 results of Google, you're killing it. Keep doing what you're doing. If you're not, she'll go a step further and say, here are the things you need to do to rank for hundreds of keywords. So she will look at, you have original content. She will look at your name, address, phone number, consistency. She will look at Google Lead, Google Lighthouse. I know some of these are very technical, so she'll spend a ton of time explaining what these are and again, where you stand. And last but not least, she'll give you a 12-month plan that will help you rank for 100 plus keywords before the end of the 12 months. So that's kind of the plan we would use if you were our client. So you know, whether you work with us or somebody else, what should happen if everything goes well with marketing. So by the end of the year, you're in a very strong position. So that's the marketing strategy meeting, $900 value. And we would love to do that at no cost to any of our listeners. So at least you create options and you don't have to be beholden to the PPO plans.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, Naren. I'm very generous of you. So for our listeners that are interested in taking that up, don't forget to mention dentalbusinessjournal.org when you request that particular marketing strategy consultation with Equa. Naren, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today on this quick podcast introduction to our series here, the Data Edition. want to thank our guests for listening in. I know as we build this podcast series, our goal is to provide tremendous value back to the industry in the form of quick snip educational pieces on this particular podcast. If you love what we do, feel free to visit ridjournal.com. Tell your friends, your family, and all those out there that we are on iTunes or YouTube or any of your favorite podcast platforms that are out there. And don't forget to subscribe. Until we meet again, I am your host, Ben Tuine. Have a great day, everybody.